Welcome Home, a podcast for veterans, about veterans by veterans, is a project of Willing Warriors and the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run.
Good morning. I'm your host, Larry Ziliak, Director of Culinary Services here at the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run. And in today's episode, we're going to explore some of guest services, what it takes to put on a guest stay, what guest stay coordinators do here at the Warrior Retreat, and also some of the activities that we have available for the families during their stay. To help us with that, our guest is Dolora Stoffa, who is a volunteer here, and I'd say a super volunteer because she's done guest stay coordinating. She's our activities coordinator, so she onboards all outdoor vendor type activities that we send the warriors to. She's also one of my sous chefs and is an amazing cook, and she does a lot for us. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Dolora, tell us a little bit about how you came to be a volunteer here at the Warrior Retreat.
Well, I had retired and I had heard about it, but I didn't know where it was. And my husband volunteers at the Lions Club.
Oh.
And I think they must have made a donation, and you let them have a meeting here, a dinner meeting here, and that's where I met you.
Right.
And funny thing is, when we were leaving, I had asked you about checking into volunteering, and the head of the Lions Club said to me, "Don't you want to volunteer at the Lions?" And it's like,
oh man,
no, I'm more into the other.
Yeah.
So that was kind of funny. Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I was picturing it somewhere else in Haymarket. I didn't know where it was.
Right.
So,
and when was that? How long ago was that?
I want to say it was April or May of 2018.
Oh, so it was a good while ago.
Yeah, it was a while ago.
Wow. Okay. So you came on board. What was the first thing you helped us out with?
Well, I came on to the first meeting. I really just, my interest was more in being a GSC. And whoever was the activities lead had left.
I think that was me.
Well, I think somebody mentioned the name Maureen, but I don't know who that is. Anyhow.
And for our listeners, a GSC is a guest stay coordinator.
Guest stay coordinator, yeah.
Okay.
So since there was nobody doing that, I said I would do that too. So anyhow, I mean, a lot of it was already started, so I've only added to it and updated it and stuff like that. But basically with the the guest stay coordinator, what we do is we go to a meeting and there is a registration person that has gotten applications, people that qualify and has scheduled a visit for them. And we usually do it like in a 3-month block. And you can choose a family to do. You can work around your schedule, which is really nice.
Yeah. We
also sometimes, if we can't be here when they're actually here, we kind of trade off with other people. And I can do the activity schedule a week or two in advance, and then someone else can check them in if I'm out of town. So we kind of help each other out that way.
Sure. And each warrior family has a itinerary that's developed for them with the guest stay coordinator, and that's based on the application that they fill out after reservations gets them a slot here at the retreat and lines up a guest stay. They fill out a 12-page questionnaire, which a good portion of it is they identify off-site and on-site activities they want to participate in. And then it's the job of the GSC to work with the vendors, find a time, schedule it. You also are scheduling photography, visiting chef night, right. Shirley's visit. And it's a good bit of work. What do you think the average is?
Well, it's a puzzle. When I talk to the people that are offering the activities, because they all donate their time and I tell them it's kind of like a jigsaw puzzle because we try to work around everybody's schedule, and sometimes we have to call them back and move the time or the date. But generally what I like to do is I like to know who my photographer is first, so then I can work around their schedule, since some of them like to do it in the evening, some like to do it in the daytime, and then I work around the schedule. And then usually Shirley comes on Saturday morning, so we don't book anything early. And depending on, we have 2 houses, and depending on which house, the visiting chef is either on Saturday or Sunday. So we kind of, then we work around those schedules, try to find out if they're early risers, if they have a child that's taking a nap, the itinerary will list a lot of things as far as, the ages of the people that are there, any special needs they have.
The application. Right.
Whether or not, they need a stroller or a crib or, a white noise machine or whatever. So basically that's what, we go from there. We try not to overload them, maybe just give them one activity a day. And it's even nice to give them a day just at the retreat to unwind, play board games. We have a walking trail. We have a little obstacle course in the back. There's ping pong. There's gaga ball.
Yes.
And cornhole. And there's a half basketball court.
Right.
There's also like a pavilion if you want to have a picnic outside. And there's fire pits. So, we tell them to enjoy the scenery. There's a lot of deer to see. And it's relaxing. It really is here.
Yeah. So it's not bad just hanging out here.
No. I mean, some people have to be on the go all the time. And then some people just like to chill. So you kind of have to feel out the person in the family. We do give them a folder when they arrive, and it has like the local churches if they want to go to a service. We give them a list of emergency contacts. We give them like farmers markets, and if they want to go and get ice cream on their own, just, we do that.
Yeah.
As far as activities, they range from arts and crafts to baking, to animals, to horseback riding, to golf, fishing. Helicopter ride, massages. I know I'm leaving stuff out.
Shooting experience with the SEAL Team 6 member.
Right, we have that.
Right.
So there's quite a bit they can choose from. And like when I am in my other mode as the activities person, I tell them, it's really hard to tell you how frequently we will call you. So if you don't hear from us, like for a few months, does it mean that we're not interested in using your services still? It's just that, we may have a family with a lot of children under the age of 5, or we may have all adults. So it's hard to gauge, how frequently things will be hit upon. So if you don't hear from us all the time, don't think that we, dropped you off.
And it's not up to us. The warrior picks what they want to do.
Right.
And then we try to work it into their schedule, the itinerary that you're setting up for them, and then what's available for the vendor too, because we don't like to send the family to some of the places on the weekend, because that's the vendor's peak time for making money, and we want to do that. But also, our warriors suffer from varying degrees of post-traumatic stress, and we don't want to send them to an activity that's its busiest time. So scheduling that on a Monday or Tuesday usually works for everybody.
Yeah, I mean, that's, it depends on the people. I mean, like there's one activity, and that one is mostly on the weekend because he requires somebody to drive him there. So that is on a weekend. Then we have some that are during the week. We do their slower days. We have like one off-site massage place where they have it on it's a specific day. So you have to go there. We have a few masseuses that come to the house, and it's on their off days.
Because each house has a massage therapy room built into
Correct, with a table.
Yeah,
so
which is really
masseuse doesn't have to carry it in. They get pretty heavy. So as far as like the activity side, like sometimes people give me a call, and this was situated before I was here. One of the neighbors loans her pool and wanted to go, called her and said, I'm not real familiar with your pool. Is it like a beachfront entrance or is it steps? So, depending upon if someone's in a wheelchair, if they can move somewhat, can they get in the pool, or do they need to go like the Freedom Center, which actually has a wheelchair that takes them into the water?
Right.
So, it's, things like that, whether there's a bathroom available that's ADA.
Well, we know all about that for almost every offsite that we have.
Right.
I can remember in the early days, we'll call it the early days, when we first opened, the commands, when we mentioned offsite activities, things for the warriors to do, they were very strict about, we're not sure if they can go and do that. We need to know more about that. And I can remember going out, taking pictures, measuring the distance from the parking lot to the front door, taking a picture of the doorknob, the transit, all things that affect mobility. And we used to have to do these for each offsite. And we kind of put a packet together. And in typical military fashion, all of a sudden one day it wasn't necessary anymore. And it's probably because the person who wanted it in the first place just transferred. So I don't know what became of that, but we do know we have a great relationship with the vendors and the groups that really provide services for us. We know a lot about them and what works best for them. And they really enjoy having the warrior come out and offering their services at no charge. And all of these activities are no charge, right?
Right. They're all no charge. It's just everybody is just so willing to give, it's just really very, it just makes you feel good. It's a very warm community that puts all this stuff together for the families. Yeah. And some of them are retired military but not everybody is. One of the ladies that does the massages, she's retired military.
Oh, okay.
And one of the alpaca farms that we go to, he's Air Force. He's retired from Air Force.
Oh, wow.
So, there are a few organizations where they do have military veterans that, support us too.
Yeah. Yeah. And of course, Frank, former Navy SEAL and American Helicopters. Kevin over there is a veteran.
So, not everybody is, but there's quite a few that are.
And that's typical of the whole community around here. There's a lot of veterans that live in the Northern Virginia area. And thankfully, there are a lot of veterans that volunteer to do a lot of things here for us at the retreat. I remember one time, there are challenges sometimes when you're trying to set up a guest stay with a warrior. You reach out to the warrior, you give them a call, you send them an email. It sometimes it's a struggle to get in touch with them. They don't return calls we usually then have to go back through reservations and have Barbara call or leave a message and say, hey, Dolora or Larry or Charmaine or this GSC is going to reach out and contact you. But I remember I did a guest stay once and I put a call in and I was talking to the warrior and I said, we've got all of this really great stuff for you to do. You're going to have a great time. We've got these offsites. You can go out to White Post and tour an antique automobile restoration facility. And he says, yeah, that sounds good, but I just really want to relax. I don't think we really need any of those. I said, oh, okay. And so the next, I think I called like a couple of days later and his wife answered the phone. And somehow I just mentioned to her, I said, I was surprised that, a lot of times the warriors like to go to take advantage of some of the things we have to offer. And your husband, he just said he just wanted to stay at the house and relax. And she's like, oh, hell no. I'm not staying in that house for a week with 5 kids. And I'm like, oh, okay. So why don't you guys discuss it? Look over the list together and decide what you want to do. And they ended up taking a few.
Yeah.
So it's sometimes you got to work like, okay, what is, and I know you've experienced this where you've talked to the warrior and you've got maybe an hour talking to them, and then you call them a day or two later, and they don't have any recollection of what you said.
Yeah.
That's the TBI.
Yeah. Well, the last case I had, I talked to him ahead of time before I went on a trip. And, he was talking about helicopter ride. And I said, well, you have a group of 10. I said, they can't take all 10. I said, they may be able to take 6. And he said, okay, well, we won't do that then. So I was like, all right. So then when I came back from my trip, he's like, well, what about the helicopter ride? And it's like, all right. I said, I can call. I didn't think you wanted it. I said, I'm not sure I can promise, at a short notice, I can't always tell you that it will be available, but I'll see what I can do.
Sure.
But I actually had one family invited me for dinner. They did a soul food dinner, and I was invited for soul food, which was really good. Yeah. I had never had soul food before. Yeah. So that was really nice. I've had all ranges. I've had, some people just want to be very private. Right. And then some people are, like you're their best friend for the rest of your life. You know, it's kind of hard to, and they all don't know us that well to start with. So it depends how they feel,
Well, I think they feel that once they get here, they're part of our family.
Right.
And we really view every warrior like that. You've seen it. I know I've seen it, the difference between when they check in and when they check out.
Yeah.
There's a marked difference.
Marked difference.
Yeah. They sometimes check in and the spouse will handle all the paperwork and do anything, and the warrior might not even say 2 or 3 words, but then by the time they're checking out, they're just going nonstop because they just made an amazing turnaround in that sense. I think of one warrior, he came to our home away from home dinner, and he had PTS that was really bad, and he couldn't even sit with the group of other warriors that were there for Thanksgiving dinner. And then he came and stayed. They stayed with us about a year later, and his PTS was very manageable at that point. And then a little bit later on, he attended an event we had and spoke, and it just was so crazy of where we first started with him when he first came on the property, and then to be speaking in front of a number of people he didn't know at an event, and it was really something. They are pretty resilient, the warriors, and they're a really special bunch for sure.
Well, one thing that stood out the first time I came here, you were the person talking to the lions, was you've come, and I never thought about it, was how noisy restaurants are. Mm-hmm. And so now when I go to a restaurant, it's like they are noisy. I just, just don't realize it. And then you also realize that they always have to be facing the door. They have to see people coming in the door. They can't sit with their back to the door.
Right.
So, it's thing, if it's not in your actual life experience, you don't think about it. But I've noticed that. Yeah. So
they are hypervigilant due to the PTS. Mm-hmm. And it's just not the same experience for them like it is for everybody else when you go and you're really just kind of focused on your meal or the person that you're with, where they're not. They're just totally distracted by everything going on around them. The sound, the noise, the smells, the commotion, the movement of people. And there's some restaurants you go to, they just cram you in. And you're 5 inches from another table, and it's terrible, which I think is one of the things that makes the visiting chef program work, because we're bringing that culinary experience to them here at the Warrior Retreat, and there's no pressure. And you've been a sous chef now for over a year, right?
Oh, wow. Yeah. A couple of years, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your experience been like that?
Well, I learned new things.
Yeah.
It's been fun. I mean, I like to, sometimes some chefs will share their recipes, which is nice.
Yeah, there you go.
You can try them at home and stuff. But it's fun, and the families, it's very sociable. They come in and talk to you. Or I think one of the family, it was the father of the warrior was here, and his son had, he was in a wheelchair, and he was having a rough time. And I think at that time we were working on getting them set up, but it's an organization that takes warriors out kayaking. From the hospital, and he was still in the hospital.
Okay.
Like he was at Walter Reed or something. And there's one at Fort Belvoir, and there's one at Walter Reed. So I had given him all the information to get in touch with them, so he can get their chapters there that he can go through.
Right.
But it was really nice, to be able to give him some information that he could follow up out of here.
Yeah, there are a number of national organizations that we are aware of or partner with. The one that I'm thinking of the most is the fly fishing organization,
Okay.
Project Healing Waters. So they've got chapters all over the place, and you can refer a warrior who's from another state to them. And the kayaking one, I know they're in quite a few places.
Yeah, actually, the lead came in from a previous guest.
Oh, okay.
Had called registration, and Barbara passed it along to me. So they have various chapters. There's one by Walter Reed, and there's one Fort Belvoir.
Yeah.
I was asking about using Silver Lake, but I think transporting a lot of kayaks is a little tricky. It's easier for you to go to the kayaks than them to come to you.
Yeah, for sure.
So that one, we're still trying to work out the mechanism for it.
We work closely with the commands to get the warrior and the family to come here. And the commands are very strict about what activities they can participate in while they're here. And we've always sort of had this motto that if we give them back broken, they won't send us anymore. And so we choose our activities, with really true professionals who are providing a service. It's not like Joe wants to take somebody hunting or things like that. So to provide services for warriors through Walter Reed, they have a pretty extensive program where they check the vendor out. We can't recommend our warriors go to organizations or people that they themselves are not familiar with there. Not only legal, but the rest of the command. They have a whole protocol for working with outside organizations. One is because they're very concerned that organizations will try to co-opt the warrior and use them for marketing and take pictures of them and try to fundraise with them, which is something we absolutely don't do. Never done it, would never do it. That is really one of the highlights when the warriors come, is to say, hey, not only are you coming out to a $3.5 million, 37-acre estate with 2 5-bedroom homes on it, you bring your family, your friends, whoever you want, up to 10 adults, but we've got all these cool things for you to do too while you're here, and no cost, and some of the things you can't even pay to do, like the antique automobile restoration facility in White Post. It's not open to the public. And RJ out there, he's got no interest in charging people to come take a tour. He just offers tours, and he personally takes them around the warriors around the shop and gives them a tour of a pretty amazing car place. Have you ever been out there?
No, I haven't.
Oh, you got to go next time. Yeah, because I know you're a huge car person.
My son and husband are.
Not you. You just drive the car.
If it starts and moves, I'm fine.
Okay.
But they're like, "Oh, did you see that car?" I was like, "No." No. Yeah. So, I haven't been to all of them. We have self-defense. That's a new one. They're actually military. You either can go to their facility, or if you can't, they're willing to bring mats here and teach like a 1-day self-defense class for people.
Nice.
There's ancestry.com, or not, Ancestry Research, if you want to do that. There's just a whole slew of things. Yeah. And they can just decide what they want to do. Some people just want to sit and play board games, or.
Yeah, which is fine. The whole idea here is everything we do is geared towards the family, right? Just being a family and bonding again together, and somehow showing the warrior that their family's not better off without them.
Right.
Which is huge for us. We're starting to get back on our feet after COVID. You were here pre-COVID. You can remember a Thursday morning guest day coordinators meeting where it was standing room only. We had 13, 14 guest day coordinators, and then COVID hit. And when we
lost a lot.
Yeah. Well, there were a good number of them were
Yeah.
in a age group that was high risk, and we can't begrudge them for,
Yeah.
staying inside, staying home. But we're slowly starting to get back. I mean, we've got 5 now, maybe 5.
So we usually have like 6 cases a month if there's a 4-week month.
Yeah.
When we have a 5-week month, there's usually 8 cases. We have a week off to do house maintenance or,
Beautification day.
beautification, keeping the grounds up and stuff like that. So there's always like, a week where we have time to restructure what we need to.
Yeah.
And
Decompress a little bit.
decompress, yeah.
Yeah. But the hunt for activities never ends, right?
It just kind of like we have a couple in each area, so we try not to like hit one person constantly.
Right.
We have 2 or 3 people that give horseback riding. So we try to, one of them is more weekends, one of them is more Monday, Tuesday. We have like 3 or 4 people now giving massages because when I first came on, there was only one person.
Yeah.
We have Hope and Serenity Farm that does tours. It's a farm sanctuary. So, I mean, she does a lot of our cases. If you have children, that's a big
great
draw because there's all kinds of animals there.
There's hundreds of animals.
Yeah. I think when I first met her, it was like 150, and I think she's closer to 250 to 300 now. She's got a lot of animals. Yeah. She's always rescuing some animals. So, so the kids like to go there. Where else? We have there's 3 or 4 dog therapy dogs. They will either bring them here if people are thinking about getting a service dog.
Right.
So we have, 3 or 4 of those kind of events that we can offer them. We have, I said the massages. There's airsoft, tactical airsoft, which is similar to paintball, but it's with air.
Yeah.
We have the target shooting. We have either can play at the golf course, like a round of golf, or we have another place that is a driving range and a putting green, and he's also a professional, and he works with Wounded Warriors, so he's willing to work with, whatever they want to do.
Oh, great.
Trying to think off the top of my head. We have the alpaca farm where you can take an alpaca for a walk.
Nice. Who doesn't want to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, they're pretty
and they're
cool.
so nice. They know when you're coming. They bake you treats. We call them, and she says, "Oh, I'll make some cookies or something." She always has something there for them.
Very sweet.
We have a neighbor that has a pool that she lets the people use the pool, and she lets them use the bottom half of her house to use the restroom and get
Bonnie's
out of the
private
fun.
pool.
Bonnie's private pool. Yeah.
That's great.
So, I mean, it just kind of varies. I mean, some of them, depending upon the age and the interests, get hit more often than others. Other ones are more,
Yeah.
So it's just, I tell them, I say, I can't tell you how frequently we'll be hitting you, but calling you up for, I do ask them how they prefer to be contacted. Because some people don't check their emails regularly,
right.
Whether, should we call you? Should we text you? Should we email you? What works best for you? So that helps the guest stay coordinator as well as the person.
Yeah.
So.
As we kind of wrap up today, what's the one thing you want our listeners to know about what it's like to be a guest stay coordinator here at the Warrior Retreat at Bull Run?
Well, we cry a lot. It's emotional. It is. I mean, when we tell you when people come and when they leave and how it impacts them, you're really proud that you provided that service.
Yeah.
And, it brings tears to your eyes.
Yeah.
It just kind of, a lot of them say, they give a write-up and they'll say, a lot of people say, thank you for your service. But they're like, that doesn't mean, this means something when you say that here.
Yeah.
And
we say, welcome home.
Right. But that's one thing they say, a lot of people will say, thank you for your service, which is nice.
Yeah.
But
they mean well.
But it doesn't have the same impact, I guess, I would say.
No, not at all.
And,
But, we're lucky as staff and volunteers that we get to provide this to the Warriors, that we actually get the experience of interacting with the families and the Warriors and providing this amazing place as a thank you from the community to them. It's not lost on us that we're very thankful that we're entrusted with this.
Right.
And it means a lot to us to be able to bring these services, primarily because we get to see the impact that it has on the family. For some families, it's really life-changing. It really is, especially if we can take a warrior who's sort of in the dark on how they want to proceed in their life, and we can put that pause in there and say, hey, your family's not better off without you. You won't see, that's what the photography's for, is to give them memories, great pictures and memories of their time together as a family here, because we know they're going right back into that rat race, 3 or 4 appointments a day over there. And it's not going to be long before that takes a toll, just like it had. And so we want them to be able to look back on those pictures and say, boy, we had a great time. I remember that. Of course, they're our best ambassadors as they go back to the hospitals and tell everybody about their experience here. But, we have one full-time employee. That's Sarah, our executive director. We have 6 part-time employees, and everything else is done by volunteers like yourself. And we couldn't do this without GSCs. And the guest stay coordinators are really what makes the guest stay special for the Warriors. So thank you for what you do and
You're welcome.
all of the volunteering that you do. Not only are you a sous chef and a guest stay coordinator and the activities team lead, you're also the Mighty Oaks Whisperer and take care of them when they're here. So the staff or the rest of us don't even have to be concerned about anything going on there because we know they're in good hands with you taking care of them. It's really special to see how the guest stay coordinators work with the families and really make their guest stay special and as really as good as it could be. So I think that's all for today.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, we're gonna have another episode next month. Every Monday we drop another episode at 5 a.m. So if you want to get up early and listen, that's great. If you have any questions or comments, you can reach me at podcast@willingwarriors.org. Until then, thanks for listening.
The Welcome Home podcast is brought to you by Willing Warriors, a nonprofit organization serving active duty service members and veterans since 2012. To learn more, please visit our webpage at willingwarriors.org.